Welcome everyone, today we have a very exciting Barbarian guide for Season 2. Now just let me show you guys a little highlight of the damage which is dealt. So looking over here, I have just smashed for 228 million, 299 million, basically 300 million. Yes, this is a very lovely Barbarian build with a lot of damage potential. Now before we go to the next part, I just want to show you guys the smash again. So notice here, I haven't used any elixirs or potions, and our damage can potentially be 350 or 400 million with a Hota build for the new Barbarian. So coming over to a tier 100 dungeon. Now this particular dungeon is going to be Sisiko's Cavern. This is one of the nice dungeons that doesn't have a boss, and it's a very fast dungeon that I'll provide you guys with a replay. So our new Barbarian build is very speedy, lots of AoE damage, and we do tremendous damage. In case you guys are wondering how come, because we'll be using uber unique items for the Barbarians. Now for the Barbarian class, because we can use multiple weapons, this really allows us to benefit from using the Doombringer and also my latest item with the Grandfather. Together with the Harlequin's Quest, we're very durable, very powerful, and most of the things disappears on the screen, even if that's tier 100. I'm very excited to share this build with you guys because this build has mobility, durability, and also lots of damage. You can be doing this as a speed farming build for dungeons, you can be doing this for the boss farming, any content in the game, even for PvP, this is super powerful. And as you guys can see over here, our build is mainly focused on generating furies above the maximum fury amount, and after that we'll be dealing a lot of damage with the Hammer of Ancient. Now of course, in case you guys are wondering what happens when you fight the boss in most of the dungeons, or maybe if you're fighting Duriel. Well, similar things happen. You're gonna go up to the boss, have your berserk count, dash into the boss, and bang, one shot, and the boss disappears. And this is the same combination you do with Duriel. Because you have so many ways of triggering overpower, and you deal so much critical and overpower damage, everything melts in about 100-200 million per hit. Now if you guys want this latest build, you can come over to my Mobilitics build over here. I have the links available for you guys. This was updated from my 1 million critical damage Barbarian. Now we have 3 million critical damage, right? So some of the items will be updated. I'll give you guys more details on which of the best items in slot we'll be using. So if we come over to my character over here, you can see that I have also farmed the latest new unique rings for the Barbarians. And I do plan to build this one with the Ring of the Starless for the future for another build to show you guys with the Barbarians. So at the moment, what we're doing now is we're going to have a look at the gears for this particular build and how you can most utilize those particular uber unique items together with some of the new vampiric powers and also with adjustments to our skill trees and also talents. Now because of previous videos, I have talked about some parts of the skills, the choices of items, and also the gems in more details. I'll refer back to that video if you haven't seen it. I have the links available for you guys. So this is the video I was talking about. So coming over to our current build, we're still going with the Hammer of Ancient on the gloves. And here we'll be going with the maximum fury will give us increased core skill damage. We are using 3 uber unique items, including the Harlequin's Quest, the Doombringer, and also the Grandfather. This allows us to have a tremendous amount of HP pool, over 28,000 on my Barbarian. This also gives us really good damage reduction, cooldowns, resource generation, and also lots of core spell damage and also lots of damage. So if you look at my attack power, just standing still in the town, I have over 32,000 attack power. And over here, if you have a look at one of the screenshots, I had over 100,000 attack power. I was showing with my friends. I was like, wow, check this out. So here I had over 100,000 attack power when I had my buffs on with the Barbarians with the shots. So of course, guys, you might be saying, hey, of course it's going to be strong with the uber uniques. But we have so many ways and also methods to farm lots of Duriel every day now. If you guys want more guide on farming Duriels, I have some previous videos, which I'll provide a link for you guys as well. So with those uber unique items, one thing you want to notice is I want to show you my stats. So here what you're looking at is we have a critical strike damage of 865 and about 50% or 48% critical chance. So if I take away the Grandfather, and all of a sudden you can see my critical damage is only 292. So this is a massive difference. And I do believe this build really excels once you do get this unique two-handed uber item, where you multiply your critical damage by 100% and also even further because we have other ways to multiply this damage. Now if we're briefly coming over to the skill trees, I want to do a brief highlight. Because our build will have tons of HP, I recommend going with 3 points into the shouts that heals you for 3% HP. And this actually heals for a lot of HP. Secondly to that, one adjustment I have made is this particular perk. Heavy-handed was very nerfed because of the changes of critical damage. But with the grandfather, this is actually a massive multiplier. So just to show you guys over here, I'm currently using a one-handed axe, and my rings don't have critical damage. If I had those, I'd probably go over 1000% critical damage. So I'm sitting on 865, right? So let's see, if I come over to my skill trees, I'm gonna unperk those three. It's a little bit of waste of gold, but it should be okay. So now I'm back to 739%. So the adjustment when you're going with the two-handed sword grandfather, if you go for those 3 perks, all of a sudden you'll be getting a 15% multiplier of your critical damage together with 100%. And those are multiplicative. And this means you get even more critical damage and even more attack. Now the rest of the skill trees are very straightforward for the Hota Barbarians. We're getting more maximum life and also some damage reduction for the higher tier dungeons. But if you find yourself not needing to be tanky, you can perk those into the maximum fury for more damage. Briefly going through the Paragon levels and also the Paragon of choice. We are going with overpower damage and also additional overpower damage with maces. This is quite straightforward. We're going with berserk damage, which currently is the best multiplier. Now over here, we are going with the increase of critical strike damage. We can get about 34 dexterity over here. I'm gonna look into a way to get more dexterity to get even more critical strike damage. And yes, we're still using the shout build for now, but in the future I'll adjust this one, so we'll go with even more variations without the shout. Most of the skill trees are quite straightforward. What you're looking for is, you're looking for at least about 620 willpower, so you can get the double damage with berserk to 20% over here. Now in terms of the vampiric powers, I have had several variations. So the constant vampire power is going to be Metamorphosis together with Blood Boil for the 100% overpower chance every 20 seconds, and also the Prey on the Weak. This gives us more vulnerability damage. The other alternatives currently I'm using is that I want to be a little tankier with more critical chance. So we're going with the Fortify powers over here, and also I want to deal AoE damage. We're currently using Hieromancy, which allows us to deal a lot of damage AoE in terms of dungeon clear and also content clear. Now alternatively speaking, I can change Hieromancy with Ravenous, and this will allow us to have up to 50% increased attack speed with a 20% lucky hit chance. This is actually really good if you're going for harder dungeons or harder bosses. So I can strip this one, and then what I do is I'll adjust one of my spare gears to adjust for the vampiric powers. Now briefly going through the skill rotations for this Barbarian. It is quite straightforward, because every 4 seconds you'll deal about 300,000 AoE damage, so you don't really have to worry about monsters that's around you. Your main goal is to kill the elite monsters or champions or special monsters that is buffing everybody else. And because we're very speedy, you can be dashing a lot into enemies to reduce your ultimate cooldown. And together with your tremendous amount of power, if you do drink a potion, you actually heal for a lot of more health because your base health is close to 30,000. Now majority of the content you really don't have a problem, and the only downside is if you're fighting a dungeon with a heavy focus on a certain type of element. So what I mean by that is, let's say if I come over to my character, you can see that my all resist is not kept at 70%. And if a dungeon is focused on poison damage or maybe fire damage, I can adjust my gems accordingly to fix for that particular resistance. So the only weakness for this build is that we can be vulnerable if you don't adjust for the elements of the dungeon, but which can be done very quickly with your rings. Now majority of the time, you're just gonna one-shot everything that's on the map. As long as you keep yourself top up with Fury and dashing into enemies, you should not have any problem with your Fury game. Together with the Flicker Step, you can have lots of berserk duration. And currently, we're using the combinations with the Launch Strike. This is because we cannot use the bash because we don't use 2 maces, right? We're using currently slash weapons. And together with the Doombringer, we're using Launch Strike to provide us with additional ways of changing weapon. So you can see I'm using the 2-handed sword over here as my attack for the Launch Strike. And here we're using a 2-handed mace. Now in terms of expertise, I'm going with a 2-handed axe to increase vulnerability damage. But because I have a 2-handed sword and also a 2-handed mace, I'm also making enemies bleed. And this is actually quite important because as you kill bleeding enemies, you have a chance of getting more berserk. And this is already really good with a 25% multiplier for berserking damage. Now finally, as for slaying bosses or massive enemies, every 20 seconds you have a guaranteed overpower. Every time you spend 300 fury, you'll have a guaranteed overpower. And every time you attack 8 times by changing weapons, you have a guaranteed overpower. So there are 3 ways of getting overpower. The best way is to make sure you only do Hammer of Ancient with maximum fury. And make sure guys, you have berserk on before you hit enemies. And also dash into enemies means you gain more damage because you have unstoppable. So together with that, you can easily hit over 100 million or 200 or even 300 million with the current build. So what I do now is I'll provide you guys with a quick tier 100 replay, and you can see how fast and how speedy the build is. And I also have a small replay to show you guys the 300 million damage and also how I slay bosses super fast with this build. If you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, no-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates, and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4.